So thank you very much for the Dashan Foundation for putting this together, and it's a pleasure to be on the same panel with some friends and people I know very well in the real estate industry in Cambodia, and thanks to the CCA and Ross from Knight Frank that have spoken already today. As mentioned, I'm the CEO and director of realestate.com.kh, which is very much a traditional real estate portal in Cambodia, similar to that of Property Guru or iProperty that you might be familiar with in Singapore or Malaysia. So who are we? Our parent company's name is Digital Classifieds Group. We're originally from Australia. We have a combined across all of our markets about 2 million visitors a month across our websites, and we're present in not only Cambodia but also Laos, Mongolia, Fiji and Papua New Guinea. Outside of our websites and apps, we also do large-scale offline events similar to the CCA events that were mentioned earlier, whether our events are more focused on buyers and bringing all the real estate developers and agencies together for our offline events. We're now generating thousands of transactions and referrals to real estate agencies and developers every week in all of our markets. And our focus is moving real estate online and connecting buyers, sellers and renters together in the most efficient way possible, leveraging technology. So as mentioned, realestate.com.kh was started in 2009. And Digital Classifieds Group invested in the business in 2015. Since we started realestate.com.kh, we've built the database to have over 250,000 people. The website itself in Cambodia gets about 200,000 people on it every single month at the moment. It's usually around 300,000 sort of pre-COVID, I guess, and we're certainly seeing even traffic starting to increase on the website over the last few days due to some pretty positive news about and Cambodia sort of slowly but surely opening up to the world, hopefully. We also have apps where we have a lot of users in multiple languages, English, Khmer and Chinese being the main ones. We've also successfully built Cambodia's leading WeChat channel focused on real estate, and we leverage other social media such as Facebook and Telegram to get the message out there for local buyers and international investors. Apart from the core website and app itself, we also own a website called B2B Cambodia, which is more focused on connecting the business community here in Cambodia, as well as international businesses looking to enter the market. We put together 3 annual guides. One's a consumer sentiment survey, an investor guide that we publish in both English and Chinese, which is available online and offline. And we also work with the Ministry of Economy and Finance and the local real estate association here to deliver the Cambodia Real Estate Awards, which focuses on identifying the leaders in real estate agencies in Cambodia. This event we are delivering again for this year, and those awards will be in March next year. This will be the first time we've ever introduced property developers to that award ceremony, as advised to us by the ministry when we last did the awards for agencies. And so this time it'll be truly reflective of the whole industry. And we also work very, very closely with a lot of the media in Cambodia, but in particular the Khmer Times, where we run their real estate section on the Khmer Times website, and we also host all of the properties that are listed on realestate.com on their website as well. So apologies if I have a little bit of crossover with the CCA presentation and Ross's, and I'll try and be as complimentary as possible and skip over things that I think that have covered. I think we've all touched on why Cambodia. The consistently had one of the highest growth rates in the ASEAN region. We've heard a bit today about the ease of doing business in Cambodia for foreign-owned companies. Companies in Cambodia can be 100% foreign-owned. Foreigners, in terms of the property market, can 100% own freehold properties as long as it's not on the ground floor via a strata title law that was implemented in Cambodia. It has, although a low urbanisation rate, certainly before COVID, it was also one of the fastest in terms of growing urbanisation rates to key cities like, of course, the capital Phnom Penh, but also Siem Reap and Sihanoukville for those seeking a high level of education and, of course, employment. It's a dual currency country where USD and Cambodian riel are widely accepted, and on my desk I'd have both currencies. It's not it's not strange to trade in both currencies almost at the same time. There's been huge construction investment over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. It's the 8th largest economy in Southeast Asia and a great frontier market, even though a little bit of pressure on the market at the moment, but that's obviously global markets. Certainly a favourable investment laws, and it's consistently ranks one of the most friendly nations in the world. And living here, certainly, whether you're Singaporean, Malaysian, Chinese, Western Australian, certainly accepting of all cultures. So us ourselves, we work with businesses from international and local businesses. Most companies here would have English, Chinese and Khmer speaking staff, if not more, such as Russian, Japanese, Korean and so on. We saw a few images of the infrastructure development. I think like many countries at this time, but Cambodia certainly needs to be commended for its rapid infrastructure during the COVID period, because some markets like Sihanoukville or Siem Reap, for the government to be able to go in there and build new roads and stuff, when tourists were booming in the market, it was always, I'm sure, a challenge to work out when they were going to implement those infrastructure pieces in terms of roads. Ross touched a little bit on GDP, so I was trying to just make sure that my slides complemented his as he was talking. I noticed the forecast for 2021 has been revised down from 4%. But I thought it was interesting to compare with our neighbouring market in Thailand to see where we sort of are comparatively in 2020, but what the recovery rate looks like. Previous to COVID, as Ross mentioned, there was consistent sort of year-on-year growth of 7%, and the ADB forecast that will be close to that mark in 2022 at 5.5%. So I think the general outlook looks very, very positive coming out of COVID. So just overview of the residential development market in Cambodia. Generally speaking, most of the market looks at the residential developments in Cambodia in sort of split in two. So you've got condominium developments, which are have been traditionally focused on the international buyers with expat tenants. They're generally centrally located in Phnom Penh and Sihanoukville, or we are seeing a few projects launched in Siem Reap. There are restrictions or height restrictions in Siem Reap where you cannot build higher than Angkor Wat, which is obviously world famous monument and temple that's in Siem Reap. Foreigners can 100% foreign ownership is allowed in units within a co-owned building, which is a condominium as long as it's not on the ground floor. Throughout the next few slides, I'll talk to a few trends that Ross also touched on, in that we have gradually seen Cambodians move towards at least thinking about purchasing a condominium as long as the spending power is there. But traditionally, Cambodian buyers have been focused on landed properties. Locally in Cambodia, they're known as bores. In Australia, we would consider this a gated community. They're generally located outside of city centres, not too far from the centre of Phnom Penh, but obviously the requirements of more land is needed for landed housing developments. There's no legal foreign ownership mechanisms to allow foreigners to own landed properties in Cambodia. Although there is some ways where foreigners have been able to purchase landed properties, and there is an emerging trust law in Cambodia that I think a lot of people are sort of getting a better understanding of, which are vehicles for foreigners to own land and landed properties. My personal sort of opinion on this is that I do think that these types of laws in markets like Cambodia are quite good to ensure that real estate in general remains accessible for the growing middle class in Cambodia, and that prices don't increase too aggressively if foreigners were able to easily own land or landed property in Cambodia. So who is buying properties in Cambodia? This is a graph that represents the traffic on realestate.com.kh. So 51% of our traffic is Cambodian. It's certainly certainly middle-class Cambodians definitely aspire to buy their first home, and they're very they see real estate as a very safe investment. Of course, China is a major buyer of real estate in Cambodia. That has come back a little bit. Previous traffic would have been close to 40%, certainly in 2019. The US, which is a market that not widely spoken about, but a lot of Cambodians migrated to the United States. So we see a lot of traffic and interest out of the US, generally from Cambodian nationals that live in the US. I think quite topical for today is throughout COVID, we've actually seen an increase in terms of traffic on our website from Hong Kong. There's obviously, there are some sort of Hong Kong-based developers that have developments in Cambodia that are doing a lot of offline events in Hong Kong. So we're certainly seeing that online as well, and seeing sort of a lot more interest from Hong Kong buyers than we ever have before. Singapore, there's still interest, and Ross also spoke about Korean buyers. There's also, we're also seeing a trend at the moment from European buyers, certainly France, which has historically always had a affiliation to Cambodia, so we're still seeing, even through COVID, interest from Europe. Then this data is from the realestate.com.kh consumer sentiment survey that's done at the end of 2020. So the start of 2021 is when we're publishing this survey. So we're just about to launch our one for this year. This is split up into preferred property types for foreigners and preferred property types for local buyers. So it's no surprise to see that apartments are the preferred property type for foreign buyers, although there is interest in land and landed property in terms of villas, shop houses, and link houses. In terms of Cambodian buyers, Certainly the most preferred property type during COVID time is land. So that's obviously Cambodians that understand the market extremely well and are looking for an opportunity to buy land at good prices during this time. Shop houses are also very popular along with villas. Although we look at this and see that 13% are interested in purchasing apartments or condos. That's actually extremely high compared to previous years. Previous years in the same survey, we would only see Cambodians preferring apartments or condos at around 2 or 3%. So we're definitely seeing that local Cambodians looking at apartments and condominiums as a viable option to purchase now, more than we ever have before. In terms of 2020 listing data on realestate.com.kh, so this is not sold data, this is listing data from new developments. On the high end, those trends we saw came down, obviously, through 2020. The only sort of price per square metre was the affordable market, which Ross also spoke to, and this is certainly where the Cambodians are looking to enter the apartment market. So it makes sense that over the course of last year that that pricing remained reasonably stable. In terms of monthly average rents, I certainly wanted to put a comparative here, but I wouldn't draw a direct line between sort of this green line trend and this one over here. This is a collection of all apartments across Cambodia, whether it's a newly built apartment or was handed over sort of in 2010. So we currently have 40,000 properties on our website. So this is an average of a one bedroom across every property, not necessarily the ones that have recently handed over. This is combined rent and sales search data. So this is in terms of major cities and the breakdown for last year of where people were looking for real estate. So it's no surprise that it's dominated by Phnom Penh. Surprisingly, Siem Reap was quite high. This is more driven by investors and buyers looking to buy land or different property types at a very good price, probably on the back of all the new roads and infrastructure development in Siem Reap, because everyone knows that that market will recover as tourists are able to come back to Cambodia. It's certainly the lowest in terms of demand we've ever seen in Sihanoukville, but we certainly expect that to bounce back quite aggressively as the market starts to reopen. I've got a few images and in the next few slides around Sihanoukville, and I'll talk to that market once we get to those images. But I think most people in real estate in Cambodia are definitely buoyant about the whole market, but very excited to see how Sihanoukville takes shape. This breaks down Phnom Penh, the capital, and looks at where most of the demand was. Cham Khamon and Dawn Pen dominate this search. This is considered downtown in Phnom Penh and the most sought after location for certainly expats and affluent Cambodians looking to buy and rent. And the other cities represent sort of the second and third tier locations. But not to say that the second and third tier locations isn't where some believe most of the opportunity actually lies in terms of investing in or buying an apartment or a landed property for living. So where are people looking to buy? This is, you might say this is contradictory. This is based on our site data, and this is combined rent and sales search. Whether this starts to explain where are people looking to buy. Each year, as I referenced before, we do a consumer sentiment survey where we survey anywhere between 2,500 and 5,000 people about where they're actually looking to invest, and we run that survey online and offline. So this is a map of Phnom Penh, and this watermelon coloured circle would represent downtown. So this is encompassing of Cham Kha Mon. You might have heard of locations such as BKK or BKK1 or Tonle Basak. Dawn Pen would definitely be considered downtown as well, just outside that watermelon colour there, and Seven Makara as well. But I thought it was interesting to see and show you guys, everyone today, the spread of interest from some of the second and third tier locations in Phnom Penh. Certainly, over the last 3 years, we've seen Sen Sok and Choi Chang Ba be really prominent in our surveys. Choi Chang Ba, in particular, is where the new stadium, which someone had an image of it before, is. There's a lot of new infrastructure and development happening in Choi Chang Ba. In terms of Mien Che, which sort of somewhat of one of the most popular developments of the last few years, with some people with background in Hong Kong, is called Urban Village, which I'm sure some of you know of. That's actually in Mien Che, so we were surprised to see the demand for this area quite low. We see this location growing quite rapidly, but compared to Choi Chang Ba probably has more there for people that live there right now. But Mien Che is where Hun Sen Boulevard is. It's where a lot of new developments are going in, including Aeon 3, and in the previous presentation, I think Ross had Aeon 1 and Aeon 2. So we see this as a high growth area as well. In terms of, sorry, some of these images are duplicated from the previous slides. I thought it was important today to sort of get off the graphs for a while and show people, certainly that are watching this overseas, that may not have been to Cambodia before, to talk through some of the key locations with images to show physically what's actually happening in Cambodia and the rate of development here in the market. So this is an image of Phnom Penh along Riverside, certainly a well-referenced landmark. Royal Palace is just here, and this is a close-up of the bridge and the peak, which is recently handed over. And this is another image of the new stadium that's already finished, and I watched a presentation the other day and noticed that was handed over before schedule. So the whole Southeast Asia Games that is going to be held in 2023, sort of all the infrastructure, and that is certainly either completed or on track to complete to host those games, which will be quite major in promoting Cambodia as a whole and the growth in Cambodia. This is an image of Koh Neria, which is certainly starting to take shape. So here is Diamond Island. If anyone knows Diamond Island and downtown, many people would consider Diamond Island downtown or just behind that. So this is an artist impression of the development that's going to happen here in Koh Neria, and there's a bridge that's already being built. It's not completed yet, but they've started construction that's going to connect here with the mainland, with Koh Phi, connecting it to the rest of the city. I think this is a great image to show you today, along with the next few, to show you the growth that's happening in Cambodia. Another image of the Phnom Penh International Airport that's being built at the moment. This is the Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville Expressway, which I believe is going to be complete next year. In 2019, I remember driving from Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville, which was certainly the height of Sihanoukville with all the tourism and activity down there, and it took 10 hours to drive between Phnom Penh and Sihanoukville. I'm not suggesting the current road takes that long, and it'd take about 6 hours today, but certainly this expressway is super important for the country, and we're all looking forward to that expressway being complete. This is an image of Sihanoukville in 2003, and this is almost the exact same photo in 2020. And I'm sure if I went back today and took that image again, today you would even see more sort of buildings. You definitely see these roads are completely new and some of the best roads in the country now, which I'll show you on the next few slides. This is another image of Sihanoukville that we took in 2018, where most of the roads along the coast were sort of that muddy orange and sometimes beautiful in ways roads. This is another image of 2018, and this is what Sihanoukville is starting to look today with the beautiful best roads almost in Cambodia, making it extremely easy to drive around Sihanoukville and really ease that previous traffic congestion that we had back in 2019. This is another image of today. These are not artist impressions, they're real images of the new roads and some of the development that's happening in Sihanoukville. Another major project in Sihanoukville, and that was the last one of Sihanoukville. And today, I think we've also spoken about Siem Reap and infrastructure development and new roads in Siem Reap with the 38 road project happening now. So this is a very, very recent image of Siem Reap, which is downtown Siem Reap. So if you went to Siem Reap today, it wouldn't be a surprise to walk down roads looking like this. But from my information, all the roads will look very similar to what we see now in Sihanoukville, hopefully by March next year, which should be perfectly in line with tourism starting to come back to Cambodia. This is just some more images of artist impressions of what we expect to see in Siem Reap once these roads are complete. The Siem Reap International Airport also. So that's the sort of, hopefully I've been a little bit different to Ross and the CCA presentation, giving everyone today a overview of residential development, complemented by some of the infrastructure that's shown in some of those images. The other part of the presentation is to talk about the PropTech landscape in Cambodia, which certainly realestate.com.kh is a pioneer in. We invested in realestate.com in 2015, where internet penetration was at about 20%. So we've enjoyed rapid adoption of internet usage and penetration rate in Cambodia since we invested in realestate.com.kh. The top websites used by local Cambodians and in Cambodia is Google and Facebook, which is generally how they're starting their search for property in Cambodia, and coming directly to realestate.com.kh. I thought this was a slide that I spent a bit of time on because we certainly think like tech adoption in Cambodia is growing at such a rate, and I wanted to create this to sort of show everyone today which international brands, and I do apologize if someone's watching and I've forgotten their brand, because there's certainly more international brands that you would know in this market. But in terms of developers and international agencies that are in this market that obviously adopt tech in markets like Singapore or Hong Kong or China. So this also gives us confidence, and hopefully you confidence in the Cambodian market, that these types of brands are here already. In terms of the prop tech or search and multiple listing services, content creation, listings and lead generation, in terms of the global search engine, certainly dominated by Google, and Facebook is a popular marketing channel in Cambodia. But it's quite an interesting market in that it's very consumers or Cambodian buyers or even international buyers. But if I look at Cambodia, they're certainly influenced by, I guess, Western sort of practices, whether that's influenced by the French that have been here for a long time and Australians in the US, but they're also very, very, very quick adopters. And the market is very influenced by sort of Chinese platforms such as 58.com. Even we get a lot of traffic from Baidu ourselves, TikTok, and certainly WeChat is also widely used in Cambodia. It's not, I would think most Cambodians in business certainly have a WeChat account. We also saw, especially through COVID, like rapid adoption of things like 360-degree photos and images of apartments, so that people could look at apartments and condos and potential investments from overseas or in the comfort of their own home in Cambodia. And certainly live streaming is becoming extremely popular in not only in Cambodia, but it's certainly well adopted by Cambodians and people in this market. I think one frustrating thing of doing business here was if we had Chinese-based clients, we always had to communicate with them on WeChat. If we had Cambodian-based clients, we'd always be communicating with them on Facebook Messenger. And if there was Western-based clients, we would always be communicating with them on WhatsApp. I find it very interesting and very convenient that the whole market here, whether they're Chinese, Japanese, Korean, local Cambodian, Western or otherwise, that the dominant messaging app seems to have become Telegram. So that's very convenient because we're doing less business across multiple messaging apps, and we're all sort of migrating to one, which is creating a lot of convenience for quick communication. An interesting thing is certainly those in across Asia. I'm sure you understand that email is almost becoming a thing of the past. Certainly trying to communicate that to my shareholders in the early days, they really couldn't understand that we were communicating over WeChat and almost signing a contract over WeChat. So certainly in these faster moving markets like Cambodia, we don't see a lot of email communication. In terms of tracking leads and leads management and property management related tech, when we invested in realestate.com in 2015, most agencies in the market were certainly managing leads and things and listings on Excel spreadsheets, and we've certainly tried to play a role in helping agencies track leads better and including us with tracking leads better than ever before. There's no local system that I know of. Most people are taking advantage of Salesforce, which is obviously a globally recognized CRM system. A lot of agencies are starting to use Pipedrive in Cambodia to track leads as well as developers and other sort of off-the-shelf systems. And I'm sure there's a dominant sort of Chinese one that Chinese agents are using. So that's sort of where that would be my overview of the prop tech landscape. I do know that there's people working on property management apps and all different types of things like that. But that's where we would be at now. In terms of something that we did during COVID, in terms of PropTech, which I'll just move the slides around a little bit, is we wanted to go out to the market and help, I guess, stimulate sales and continue to promote Cambodia as a whole to local buyers and international buyers. So, and we'd heard about obviously people in China buying online, and the market here couldn't believe it. So we thought we would try and stimulate online sales ourselves. And it was really a market-wide effort, although we built the platform. So we went out to all the property developers that we were working with in the market and got them to provide 3 or 4 special priced units for the event. Then we went out to all of our media partners and got them to promote the event. And similar, went out to all of our agency partners and got them to promote the event, and with the intention of the event being live for only 4 hours. And what all the media and the agencies could do was drive traffic to this platform to pre-register buyers locally and internationally with their unique codes. So we're able to track where the lead came from and who generated that buyer. And then we launched the website for only 4 hours. The first one we did of this was back in June 2020. And I remember sitting in the office, being ready for all the traffic online, and we were absolutely amazed to have 10,000 people on that website during those 4 hours, and successfully sold multiple units for developers in Cambodia, which was the first proof of concept that international buyers and local buyers are prepared to buy property online. So I certainly think that's something that's going to be an increasing trend over time. When we say they bought online, we were only taking a $500 fully refundable deposit. So after I'm not saying the whole transaction was completed online. After the $500 deposit was made, the company that originated the lead and the developer themselves and the buyer were then connected to finalize the transaction, which successfully happened. I think not PropTech, but I see that buying online for Cambodians is certainly not something they're scared of doing. There's certainly a high level of trust. Lots of retailers and individuals are certainly buying online via Facebook from some of the retailers here, such as Little Fashion, or even using Alibaba and AliExpress and Taobao, certainly to buy products from China and across the world. So just a summary of realestate.com. I said at the start of the presentation, we're very much a traditional real estate portal like Singapore. We've certainly shifted to be more focused on helping real estate agencies and developers in the market close deals without being real estate agents ourselves. But one of the issues when we'd survey our audience, whether they were buyers on the buyer side, they were certainly, I guess, frustrated in that response times from some of our clients were slow, and then similar on the other side from agencies or developers who would get back to property seekers said that would give us constant feedback that they weren't getting a response. So we set about at the start of COVID to try and solve this in Cambodia and frustration from both the seller and buyer's side, and it's been quite successful, albeit during a difficult time. So like any real estate portal, we go out to all of the trusted real estate agencies and property developers in the market and work with them on onboarding their project. We focus campaigns now based on buyer and renter feedback, more than focusing on the developer that's sort of, paying you the most money, which traditional real estate portals always push those properties to the top. Just like a traditional real estate portal, we're exposing projects and properties to thousands of buyers locally and internationally. and we're starting to work with agencies and property developers on a referral or on a paid marketing plus referral model. And we're really working hard to improve the efficiencies between a property seeker and a property seller, where we manage all leads through a fully integrated CRM that integrates with with realestate.com.kh. And we focus on having a very professional trained team in our custom service center that work directly with buyers and real estate agencies in Cambodia. So that's where we're now taking it. I think a lot of these sort of platforms, certainly in China, are that way. Generally in developed markets like Singapore and Australia, there's less of those blended sort of models. But that's where realestate.com.kh is today, and we'll certainly keep going in that direction because we're creating a much better experience for a property seeker, and we're generating much more quality leads for real estate agencies in the market. So that's just a bit of an overview of PropTech in Cambodia. We're certainly excited about moving the Cambodia real estate online and playing a major role in that. This is my contact details if anyone wanted to contact me directly. If anyone wants to sort of read more about the Cambodia real estate industry, we're always publishing content around infrastructure developments, new properties in Cambodia, and producing our 3 annual guides. You can access that on our app or website in English, Khmer and Chinese, and you can also follow our WeChat channel by scanning this QR code. So thank you very much again for the invitation to speak today, and honoured to be on the same panel as the CCA and Knight Frank Cambodia and be involved in this and playing our role in continuing to promote Cambodia as a great country to do business in and invest in. Thank you.